Hello out there from the Bedrock Kitchen. We are super excited to be in here with Kipp Thomas, Chef Kipp.
Hello, hello, culinary folks out there who follow Miss Sarah and her classes every week.
Yeah, so Kipp is in here today. He is not only in here for this virtual workshop, but he's joining with all our classes for the elementary summer school going on over here this summer. We're working with the classes 3 days a week after summer school through their MSCR program. And he was just here making greens and cornbread muffins with our kids all afternoon. So we're here to demo that for y'all. So Kipp, I'll let you take it away from here.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to make let's say a rookie style of greens. Meaning we're going to cook some greens that are just fundamentally a pot of greens that's not too elaborate, not too stylish or anything like that, but just a vegetarian style greens. And what we've been doing with the kids today is that we made Southern style greens, but we kept it simple for the kids to have fun, you know. And basically that's what we're going to try to do, you know, and it's a simple recipe. When I say simple, we're talking water, a little bit of chicken base, just a little, some olive oil, onions, garlic, greens, a little bit of spice, some chili peppers, but nothing else, you know. And the reasoning is for people who want to try to make greens, but they think it's too complex and stuff like that, this right here is a starter. And then as you get comfortable making your greens like this, you could add other stuff. Salt pork, smoked turkey, okra, different vegetables, you know, to make it into something that you like, because greens is a very diverse dish. You know, I love them, you know, and I think starting with learning how to just boil some greens together is going to be perfect. So with that said, if Sarah can walk with me over here, right here is I just have like a couple of chicken bouillon cubes and some water in there. And I'm letting it simmer right now. And what we're going to do is I'm going to add some different stuff to that to get it going to a little boil, not a like high boil, something like that, because greens actually take patience, you know. And one of the big things is I'm going to add this stuff first, and then I'm going to start showing you a simple way of cutting greens that we do, and we teach our kids how to do them. You know, when we teach the kids how to do stuff, everything is about a safety. We want them to make sure that they understand how to use a knife. Actually, in our class right here, we've been using plastic knives, you know, but we'll show you how to cut the core and just cut around and then roll the greens and cut. So first and foremost, let's add a couple of things to that water to give it some more flavor. I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. And people say, what do you add an oil for? Well, olive oil adds flavor. It does. And I like olive oil. So we're going to just go ahead with that. Instead of like a fat pork, lard or something like that, this right here gives it like a little more flair to it, you know. Then I'm going to add some red chili flakes, but not a lot, because we're teaching the kids how to eat something, but we don't want to make it where it's not tolerable for them to handle. You know, especially if a lot of our kids today are making greens for the first time, are trying greens for the first time. So that right there is we're trying to educate them how to make something, but not overwhelm them with spices.
And then you have the kids who eat the greens at home, and they're like, you can give them their chili peppers next to.
Oh, all that hot sauce, anything, because yep. we have a different world now where everybody's covering food with some kind of spice, which I don't mind. But you know, you want them to try the natural tasting of the food before they start adding ketchup and all that other stuff. This is just black pepper, and I'm not going to add a lot, even though I put a lot in that. I'm just adding enough to give it some more flavor. I don't normally cook with salt, but I'm going to add just a little to this dish since I'm not using any smoked meats or anything like that, you know. So I'm talking probably a teaspoon
So this one we're making that right now is like a vegetarian style?
Yes. And I say that even though we started with some chicken bouillon, there's no meats in it though, you know, other than the flavor, you know. And you can omit the bouillon cubes and all that stuff, and just there's a vegetarian bases out there you could also use, you know, and you probably be surprised that they're actually very good, you know. So with that said, now I got those spices in there. I'm gonna add. I have some garlic and some diced onion. More flavor. I love garlic in my greens, and I'm telling you when I say that, I make my garlics, you can see the garlic. I mean, I make my greens, you can see the garlic, and people have commented on it that they love it. I like to eat with a lot of garlic, you know. Goes back to my Italian roots. Anyway, next we got different styles of greens here. Make sure I know my. This is collard greens. This is turnip greens. We got kale.
Mustard greens.
Mustard green. Like I said. So with that, we're going to do 3 styles. Each has a different fragrance to it, and they're beautiful. Like when they start cooking, you can smell it. Like your whole house will smell like something good, you know. But before that, I have some that we had from the first class, and I'm just going to add these to it now so I can have an empty bowl.
And these are all picked today with our students too. So it is greens time in the garden. If you are wondering when's the time to pick them, check now because they're probably ready.
What I'm going to start with is the let's say the greens that are the coarsest. In other words, they're the strongest ones, and they are they take long to cook. You know, the other greens are kind of like younger looking, tender, you know. There's funny ways of doing greens. You can cut out the stems here, pull it, and you can roll it. And when I say that, then you can just go basically like and chop it down, because greens cook down to basically nothing. You know, so that's why you see bushels of greens being clipped, cleaned, and all that stuff, put in pots like that high, and they just wilt it down. Spinach, all the different all the leafy greens are like that. But prepping is probably the most important thing, because you want to get everything together to get everything in the pot. So you have a cooking time of, like, let's say an hour to hour and 15 minutes, you know, just so your greens come out the way you want them. Not tough and, you know, tender. But we do have now a market out there where greens and a lot of different things are now cooked in a crisp or a crunchy taste. It's great. A lot of people love that because you're actually getting more vitamins that way, you know. But all in all, and I want to show our audience, in this pot right here, we have some that we had started earlier on with our classes. So I'll start a cooking process, but this is our finishing process, just to give you an exact idea of how the greens cook down.
And these ones had smoked turkey wings in them, so they did have a meat piece.
Today's class was very interesting because we had kids who were so excited to cook that they almost made me into a celebrity, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But I really appreciate their enthusiasm today, because it's been a while since I've, you know, been in a class with kids, but they kind of like broke the seal today and made me feel, you know, good and comfortable, you know, to show them, especially when you're cooking something that a lot of kids have not heard of, you know. I mean, let alone try it.
And then the kids that have heard of it were so excited to see a familiar dish on the menu, you know.
when I'm doing these, I like to also mix them. So I'll cut another style of greens. So I'm not just like adding one on top of the other, just like they're all mixed together, you know. And like Sarah said, these are all from our garden here at Badger Rock. And I'm telling you, people who get our greens claim that something's in the soil. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people have been coming back to our farmers market as repeated customers, yes, just for greens.
And you all can come too. We just started up our markets on Sunday, last Sunday. So every Sunday through the whole summer, we're going to be here from 2 to 6 selling our vegetables. There'll be prepared food. Kipp is going to cook for some of them, so look for him too. You'll get to taste his greens. If you haven't, he makes the best greens.
Well, I get them from our garden, so I give credit where credit's due. Mm-hmm. As you can see, I'm mixing it together like a tossed salad, you know.
It's beautiful.
And I'm going to add that to the pot. I'll turn the fire up just a little. Get a little steam in there, and then the greens start cooking down a little.
And it looks so full, but in a minute it's going to sink down like that. So. Yeah, we were working with 3rd graders today, and they were really starstruck by getting to work with a professional chef in the kitchen. So thank you, Kipp, for taking the time this whole week to work with them.
Well, they kept referring to me as a teacher, and I'm like, well, I don't mind that, but I'm sure a teacher's never been called chef in their class. So I kind of like took it as a compliment, but you know, in all, anytime a young person is learning something, they look at us as teachers, you know, which is a great thing, because our teachers sometimes don't get enough credit, you know.
So Kipp, when you use okra in your greens, I love that, how you start adding that. What does that add to them?
Well,
what does that do for the greens?
Not only flavor, but okra is like a natural thickener. Mm-hmm. You know, so your greens come out like a little bit more thick in a sense of soupy, like, but not runny. Like, for instance, a lot of people, we call it pot liquor, you know, the greens juice and stuff like that. This right here is like it's like a gravy, you know, and it's beautiful. The thing that I love doing, though, with okra in my greens is designing it where when I do okra and greens, like especially if I do whole okra, I'll design it around the dish, and people can, if they want okra, they can have it instead of always chopping it up and putting it all together, you know. But okra is an incredible vegetable. If you've never tried it, besides being fried, you got to try it naturally. You know, it's slimy, but it's flavorful and it's good. You know, there's people now, you're pickling okras for Bloody Marys and stuff like that. You're doing a lot of stuff in okra and breading it and deep frying it like a jalapeno and stuff like that. It's very diverse, you know, and it's very good. But to my greens, it just takes it to another level. And I'll tell you the funny thing about that. When I add okra to my greens, people from down south that live in Wisconsin, they love it because it just brings back a whole down home country feel, you know. And, you know, so that's one of the reasons why I like to use okra, you know. And you can also add other vegetables to your greens. I've been around enough where I've seen people do a mixture of spinach and greens, cabbage and greens, you know, just different. If you love leafy vegetables, you love greens added with stuff, you know. But the great thing about it is you can eat greens now, like I was about to say in the beginning, is now you're having places where greens are seen more mainstream on menus. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is like our kale and stuff. People are sauteing it with olive oil and sliced onion and garlic. al dente style, where you can feel the bite, you know, and people love it, you know, and it's a great side dish, believe it or not, with your prime rib on a Saturday and stuff like that. It's a great addition to meats that you would never think of, you know, or just alone, you know. Seafood, like a good baked piece of trout or something like that and some greens, try it. You know, you'd be surprised that putting foods together, the flavors that come out and how you enjoy it. A dinner that you normally is traditional, you know. But anyway, so our greens are in and they're going to cook for a few minutes. I'll even put this lid on to get a little steam in there. But these right here, this bad boy's this right here is basically done. And now we're going to go over to doing our, we're going to do cornbread muffins. And these cornbread muffins, the kids did also today. And as a matter of fact, this is one of their batches right here. And these cornbreads have honey in them. So it's going to be a very simple recipe. And it's a recipe that you can do at home. You don't have to like go to the bakery, ask, hey, you got any cornbread muffins? No, you can do this at home, you know. And the best way to do them is homemade, because that way you know all the ingredients that you put in and you know what to expect. So we're going to do a small batch. I'm going to melt some butter. Gonna melt some butter there, and we're gonna do that's flour. Yep, I got all the stuff here, and it's kind of fascinating because the kids were having a fun time doing homemade muffins. But you got to watch your kids when they're in the kitchen, because kids go through a phase where they think more means better, more salt, more sugar, and the reality is no, it doesn't mean better. It just means salty or too sweet. But you have to watch, because one of the big things that Sarah's big on is teaching kids measurements and stuff like that. So as you might see me looking off, I'm looking at a menu board because I want to do it exactly the way we taught the kids today, compared to the way I do my muffins. You know, so you at home follow along with what Mr. Kipp is doing today. So I'm going to do basically a cup and a quarter of flour. And before I do anything else, well, let me add a little bit of baking powder also. I'm going to do a tablespoon.
If you're using self-rising cornmeal, which we also did today, you don't
Yes.
have to add in the baking powder. But if you don't have the self-rising, you need it, or you end up with a corn brick to gnaw on.
So we're going to use it today. And what I'm going to do is all those dry ingredients, I'm going to mix around really good, because there's nothing worse than biting into anything that's supposed to be, let's say, sweet, and you bite into some baking soda or baking powder. And you know, I've had some great chocolate chip cookies in the past, but there's a surprise. So once that's all mixed together like that, what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of sugar. Oop.
Oh, we forgot to mention too, the cornmeal is already in there. It's 3/4 of a cup.
Yep. I have
some butter over here. Make sure it's not burning.
Okay, thank you. I have some sugar. We're talking about a couple of these.
We did have one kid today that couldn't have gluten too, so instead of using flour and cornmeal, we just use straight cornmeal, and that works too. It's a little bit of a dense.
And I have eggs. Guess where these eggs are from? Badger Rock chickens.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, they're working overtime right now because we're using eggs basically in every summer dish. And I think we got a memo from one of them saying something about like they want to be paid overtime. So we might have a strike going on pretty soon. Anyway, same thing with the honey. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons.
We also sell Badger Rock eggs at the farm stand, so if you come on by for the market, Sundays 2 to 6, we'll be here with eggs.
Call ahead before you do that, just in case they went on strike.
Right. That's right.
Now I have the eggs, honey, and I'm going to add some milk. I got all my stuff right here. I'm going to mix this all together, and if I need to add more milk, I will, because I want to get a consistency that's thick and runny, you know, so it's not like too thick or too runny.
Yeah.
Let me check on these greens.
Look how much they cooked down already.
Last but least, I'm going to add some melted butter. That's where we're getting our flavor from, with the honey of a good sweetness.
And we will pop these recipes in the comments too if you want to follow along at home and get an idea in your own kitchen of how delicious these recipes are.
I will add just a little bit of milk. When you add something like that, just go slow, hit the walls. That's the consistency that you're looking for when you're making muffins. Now, I prefer making muffin batter like yesterday for today. But just to show you and give you a fundamental of how to cook something like making muffins that are simple at home, we're going to do it right away. But I do like my muffin batter to be chilled. That way, as I always believe, everything marries together. You know, your honey, your butter.
And this is probably the smallest batch of cornbread muffins you'll ever see Kipp make.
This is the smallest batch you ever see me make it of anything. I'm kind of stressing out. I normally cook for armies, no, like, but it's fun, especially when we were doing with the kids today, because they had a lot of questions, and they were telling me a lot about the things that they love cooking at home, and like around holidays, Thanksgiving and stuff like that. One young mind was telling me that they make the turkey, and I'm like, you make the turkey, huh? And they're like, well, I help make the turkey. I was like, okay. I mean, you're talking about 5th graders, all right.
Yeah, they were 3rd graders today, Kipp, so.
3rd graders, my fault. See, I've already graduated them. So, that right there is a good, and let's say, amount where you're going to get this is going to rise, going to be a beautiful muffin, compared to sometimes we get overzealous. You add too much, you got big muffins, little muffins, random muffins. Yeah, random. So this right here is ready to go into the oven. One of the big things that I wanted to show is a timer.
Yeah.
You put anything in the oven, make sure you put a timer on,
Right.
because you'd be surprised in 15 minutes how many things take place in the kitchen that will make you lose your focus. So with that said, and all in all, I was telling the kids when they were sitting down eating what they had made, the greens, the muffins, and all that stuff, what do you taste? What do you like? What can you saw yourself making, but what do you taste the most of as you're eating it? You know, like what's the first taste when your taste bud with the muffins? Honey was coming up, all that stuff. Greens, garlic, all that. And then I was showing them that, okay, so a lot of people have different ways to eat greens. A lot of people have different ways of eating cornbread. You can eat cornbread by itself. You can eat greens by itself. But I always tell them how I love to eat them that my mom makes. Like, I love putting the muffin or cornbread in the middle of your plate and putting greens over top of it. Mm-hmm. So now you have a savory vegetable dish with a sweet foundation, and it's incredible. You know, that brings back, like for instance, I love ham hocks, I love smoked turkey. That is a plate of food of goodness. You know, that's me. You know, so one of the kids tried it and they're like, ooh, you know, and I love when they try something that you suggest and they get that wow effect. I love that, you know. Whereas not only Sarah's teaching kids how to try different things from the garden, but she's teaching kids different cultures of people of a time frame that we grew up on. Like I'm old school, you know. Sunday dinners was important. And you look forward to the next batch of greens next Sunday after you finishing up this batch, you know, because there was family time around the table, you know, conversation, laughter, all that stuff. But when people say soul food, it's every culture has soul food. It's food that you grew up on, and that brings back that nostalgia feeling of grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone, mom and dad. So that right there is my little lecture on soul food, because everybody sees me and go, I know you know how to make soul food. Well, soul food, I know how to make Italian soul food. I know how to make any kind of soul food. Food that has a root to people's ancestry, all that stuff. So now let's check out these greens again, because this pot is done. And what I want to show you is what I was referring to. Stay on that for a second. Mm-hmm. Kids have bowls they were eating out of. Yep, perfect. I just want to give an example of something. I want to give an example of what I was saying about how I like to eat my greens and cornbread. And it's funny, it's like, that's my foundation. And I'll even use a little bit of turkey meat.
If you can find it in there.
Well, I can. See, I'll have some turkey meat there. And I'll put the greens over top my cornbread. So I'll let that pot liquor and all that stuff soak into that muffin. And then when I'm ready to eat it, you know, I don't add nothing to my greens. I mean, people say, hey, try sriracha, you know what, I'm just going to try this fork, you know. And that right there is enough for me, you know. To get fancy and try different things, that's all good, you know, and all that. But after these greens soak into that muffin, I tell you right now, you're never going to go back to anything else but that way. So that's just my opinion. But anyway, now we just wait for the muffins to come out of the oven and this pot of greens to cook down. And like I said, greens are a dish where you can walk away and let them just, you know, dance around in the pot by themselves. They don't need to be babysitted or anything like that. You just let them cook, you know, especially collard greens, because they're, you don't want to be judged by the community that you got some tough greens. They tell everyone at church. So just keep in mind, be patient with cooking any kind of food, let alone greens and vegetables that take time. You know, it's like you don't smoke a meat 4 hours and think it's done. You know, you smoke a meat up to 12, 16 hours, you know, and you be patient. You know, don't keep opening up the grill and all that. But
well, so, Kipp, thank you so much. This is amazing. And thank you so much for coming in to work with all these kids this week, too. They've been having so much fun. It's been so cool to see you back in here with everybody.
Well, Miss Sarah's done an amazing job over the years. I mean, first year for me being here to like now. She's gone through a lot of storms with the kids, you know, like, hey, sometimes this used to be a class where the teacher sent the bad kid. Now it's, you have to be, you know, basically just like a reward to be down here, you know. So she's got some good kids, and every year she meets, I don't know how many kids she meets.
Lots of kids. We get a lot of kids through this kitchen.
Oh, big time, you know. And it's all fun, you know. I was telling the kids today that cooking is a fun thing. Conversations that you have. I had one of the young ladies singing. I said, when you're at home, do you sing when you're cooking with your mom and dad? She's like, yes. I go, tell me, sing one of your songs. And she sung it in Spanish. And I loved it because she was bringing out that feeling of being at home with her parents, and that's how much fun they have. Like, she'll start a song, and then her mom will kick in, and I'm like, hey, you guys belong on American Idol. She goes, oh, we're not that good. But it's fun, you know. Coming around the dinner table is a time to reflect on your day with your family. And I mean, I don't know, sometimes I think people tell me that the dinner time table has gone away. I don't think so. I think a lot of families still do sit down, you know. Even if you're in sports and all that stuff, moms make adjustments to the time frame. You know,
and you can make your own dinner table, your cooking table at schools, you know.
Oh, yeah.
The kids, it's a great place to connect with each other, too. And they have been having so much fun with you, Kipp, and I can't wait for the rest of the week and all the rest of the kids to get to enjoy working with you in the kitchen. Well,
I hope the culinary chefs out there in TV land got something out of this today, you know, because I can go fast, but in the same token, it's a concept of a beginner's green. Then you can add different stuff to it. Cornbread muffins, you can add stuff to it. Jalapenos, you can, cheesy cornbread muffins is a big thing now. I mean, we don't want Red Robin come, not Red Robin, but Red Lobster come looking at us funny. You know, it's just, you try different things of your taste, what you like, you know. So, but hey, I enjoy cooking, always have.
And we enjoy cooking with you, Kipp. So thank you all for tuning in today, and we will catch you again next time.